part of the time, if you're in person and you're doing the homework, there's a little icon where you can click and it takes it over automatic into Statcrunch for you.
Mm-hmm.
There's times like today, you're gonna have to upload it.
Can I just take a picture of my phone?
So, I handed out 2.1, so let's talk about 2.1. 2.1, we're gonna start making what is I call the pretty pictures. And the pretty pictures start with frequency tables. All right? Now, how do we make a frequency table? Well, you've got one that's 42 long. And it starts with, you look at it and decide what is the material. Well, it's the days of the week. So we got Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Here's our days of the week. So we have days and we have frequency. Now, there's actually a tally portion that doesn't go on the frequency table. If I'm doing it by hand, and what it is, this is actually example 1, starting with. I need to go through, and I can go through and try to count all the Sundays. I see one, and go do that. Or I can start a tally sheet as I go left to right on each row. So I see a Wednesday, I see a Saturday, I see a Monday, another Wednesday, another Wednesday, another Wednesday. Double check, yep, that's 6, because there's 6 in a row. So then I go the next row, I get a Friday, I get a Saturday, I get a Saturday, Tuesday, Tuesday, Monday. I can keep doing that, and I'm not going to. Nor will I expect you guys to. Okay? Now, I'm going to show you why. Back up to my math lab, and I'm going to go to modules. Now, if you notice, there is a module that says Statcrunch help. Let's see if it's going to work. Wouldn't work. That was blocked. I was blocked at the high school. Well, look at that. These are all little short videos on all the Statcrunch that you can do.
These are in our modules.
It's under
Okay.
modules, under Statcrunch help.
I started reviewing that trying to last night.
It's all right.
Homework.
But yeah, I was blocked at the high school.
Like, let me
That's the
look
guys
at
you're
the
having to go home
videos.
and do it. But
Change numbers, I'll give you my number today.
if you scroll down, you will see all the data sets. Now, these are the ones that's labeled like that, that's actually coming from your book. But if you notice, you have things like tornadoes. And I'm going to actually download it, because you will have to download it to get it to transfer over. I'm going to show you how. But here's the problem. How long is this data set?
You say we should go ahead and download it?
No,
No.
I'm demonstrating.
Okay,
just
I said for you to be
hypothetically.
able to embed it, I'm just
Okay.
showing you why.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting you guys to do this by hand. I'm still scrolling.
That's ridiculous.
No.
Crap.
This is actually a small data set.
What?
She
You're
said, no, it's not ridiculous. It's a small data set.
You're crapping me.
I love it.
Not in real life, it's just a small data set.
Wow. So, dare I ask what a large one looks like?
Usually there's between 2,000 and 3,000.
Holy
On
crap.
Okay, then.
And we keep adding to it. This one is 1,473 long. You notice it didn't say 74. The first line is a header line.
Okay.
First line's a header line. But this is 1,473 items. I don't know about you, do I wanna do a frequency chart on 1,473 by hand?
Yeah.
This is the reason why statisticians do not use the calculators. We do not use by hand. It's too much material. It's just way too much material.
Is this why statisticians become serial killers?
Yes. It's not statisticians so much, it's more just mathematicians,
Mathematicians.
yeah. However, I guess there's psychology is now into the running because we just had yet another one that, psychology professor stabbed her boyfriend to death in his sleep.
Mm.
What?
Idaho guy
It
was
was
psychology too, right?
What?
Idaho guy, he was.
Mm-hmm, he
Oh,
was
yeah.
criminal psychology, wasn't he?
Did you
I
hear
just
about,
watched
Psychology's coming up in the
2020.
ranks. It always was before it was just the math.
Mm.
did you hear about the one over towards, like Defiance area? The guy that was shining lights at people and pulling them over and killing them on the side of the road?
What?
Mhm.
Yeah, somewhere in between,
So,
Defiance and like Napoleon or some crap like that.
I gotta keep moving,
Sorry.
sorry, yeah, but.
Tell you later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, but this is the reason why we use technology. It's the reason I said I'm just showing you. Would you want to do a frequency table by hand?
Hell no.
No. So it's because of this. I'm going to show you how to do it. But guess what? I'm not expecting you guys. First, we go through by hand and we do the tallies, and we take the tallies and we count them up. And then we go through. Well, there was 8 total. And by the way, if you think I did this by hand all the way through, heck no. And that's just 42. I'm sorry. And then you sum it. So that is what a frequency table looks like. It is. Now, we have something called a frequency table. And then we have something called a relative frequency table. This is a frequency table. And this portion is not included, but it's a necessary evil when we're doing it by hand. Now, what does a relative frequency table look like? I relate each day to the total. And how do I do that? I go 8 divided by 42, and I get a decimal. I go 5 divided by 42, and I get a decimal. I go 7 out of 42, getting the gist of it, and I get a decimal. And what is a decimal in statistics?
Percent.
It's really a percentage. We just don't write it in its percentage form. We leave it as a decimal. And a relative frequency table, this is going to be important, when you get it, you check it when you're doing it by hand. It should equal 1. Now, does it always equal 1? Not a relative frequency table. This is going to be important later. It may, if you run the total, it may say 0.999, depending on how many decimal places you go out. Okay, close enough. It may total 1.001. Again, close enough. It is allowed to equal about 1. Later on, you're going to hear me talk about another table that looks darn near like a frequency table, a relative frequency table, except it must equal 1. So we tweak it. We tweak it to where it does equal 1. But right now, on a pure relative frequency table, it can be almost 1. 0.99. Now, if it comes up to be 0.89, no, not close enough. Check your math. But 0.999, good enough. Typically in statistics, we do 3 decimal places. we do. Some will tell you 4, but as a rule of thumb, we go 3 decimal places. So watch what it says, okay? Watch your instructions. Now, again, I said, what do I expect? No. And typically, when we get to this point, I will give the meat and potatoes. This is the day making sure everybody's comfortable enough with the statistic. Most of the time, I'm gonna say, here's what we're gonna do today, here's the commands. I back off, but today I'm gonna walk you through. All right. We go to Statcrunch. In this first part, I'm kind of just leaving, and we enter the data. One way or another, right? Once we get the data into Statcrunch, we are going to click Stat, Tables. We'll make sure frequency is selected. Select day, you'll see here in just a minute, and then compute. Now, the difference between a frequency table I'll show you here in a moment. It's one step. So, I'm gonna close this. I'm gonna go back to Statcrunch. First method of how we can input data into Statcrunch. Remember, I pointed out certain ones are from the textbook.
Yes.
So I'm going to select the top line. If it is a data set from the textbook, and it's broken down by chapters, what's the first number on the data set that I need?
2.
2. What's the rest of the numbers?
2, 3.
Right there, see that? 2_1_23. There's my data set. I double click it, and looky right there. Imports it right in for us. So we like how they have tied all these data sets for us
Now, what did it do
automatically.
again? I'm
Chapter
sorry.
2.
I was watching,
If you
I
look-
just wanna be sure
Look
that
at
I
it
do this
We're
correctly.
going to 2,
Oh,
1, 2,
okay.
3.
So,
Yeah,
thank you.
I have to go, yeah, I can.
Oh,
We go here,
I don't know what I'm doing. I'm down here.
Yeah, that's
the data sets from the textbook, and then you scroll down till you find it. Alright, we good?
I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's at this point, once we get the data in, as I said, Statcrunch data entry, however you need to do it.
Oh,
That part, this one is from the textbook.
and that's-
That information on that
That's all
table is all entered.
It's the data set title.
Okay.
Now, what was the difference in Excel and this is Statcrunch? What did I say? How many lines of data there was? You had to subtract one for the header. Here's the slight difference between Statcrunch and Excel. The headers are in their own separate line.
Oh, cool.
So, my sample set, okay, there's more, is 42. 42 lines.
Gotcha.
My sample set is 42. So now let's run the frequency table. Following those commands, we go stat, see there's tables, there's frequency, click. You select day,
Statcrunch.
because
That's that.
you can have, remember I showed you the tornadoes, how many columns were there?
God, ridiculous.
All right, not rows, columns.
Tables.
All right, this is how you tell Statcrunch which column to use. Right now, we're dealing with one column. So I want that, and notice that both says frequency and relative frequency. I'll run frequency table first. And then I can get compute. There
I like it.
is a frequency table,
Okay, so-
Day.
mhm.
in a matter of seconds.
Yep, and then frequency.
The hardest part is getting the data in.
All my data. And then compute.
Now, can you leave that there and then go back and do?
Oh, about to do that.
No, that's
Right
one.
there it is. But what if I, okay, let me see what a relative frequency table looks like.
Thank you for helping.
You're welcome.
Stat, tables, frequency, because remember I said there's no real difference. Again, I need to select which column. Make sure relative frequency is highlighted. Compute. So side by side, one is a frequency table and one is a relative frequency table. A frequency table gives you the true
And then
count.
compute.
A relative frequency gives you the percentage.
Nice, I like that.
So the frequency gives you the count and the relative gives you the percentage?
Yep.
Right on. Screenshot.
Frequency. Relative gives you percentage.
Believe it or not, that was example one. That quick.
Nice.
A bar graph. Now, anybody here know what the difference is between a bar graph and a histogram?
What?
No.
They look very much the same.
What was the second one?
Doesn't the histogram show you two different?
Like ranges,
I think so.
can, not always.
I have no idea.
A bar graph, the bars don't touch, a histogram, bars do.
Ah, okay.
Quickest way I can explain it. Typically use a histogram when your categories across the bottom are numeric. Think you're continuous and you're discrete, hearing things coming back at you. Alright? So how, by hand, we do a frequency, a bar graph? Well, the days would go across the bottom. Move the extra things back there. Darn you. Alright. So this would be Monday. This would be Tuesday, Wednesday. Well, I guess we start with Sunday. That's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then up the side would be the frequency. Let's count by twos. So, Monday or Sunday is 8. So 2, 4, 6, I have a bar at 8, and it comes down. Monday we have a count of 5. So that's about halfway between 6 and 4. Notice my bars do not touch side to side. Tuesday, it's a 7, so it's about here. And these turn out much nicer if you use a straight edge, but I can keep going. But to have a bar graph, bar chart, bar graph, it starts with a frequency table. Also, typically what do? We put the value above the bar because once it starts falling in between our hash marks, isn't it kind of hard to gauge? We could do a bar chart with a frequency table and a relative frequency table. Either or.
They both look the same almost.
The shape's gonna be identical. Alright? Now, when you go to do things like concept checks, you'll need to show me these tables and charts. So how do you do it? I clicked options and looky right there, copy. It's telling you how you can copy it. And then you can paste it straight in. Now, I'm gonna close it. Notice there's now 2 above this. If I click down, click on it. There, results 2 hidden. I can pull them right back. Does it save forever? It goes away when I close Statcrunch. These will disappear when I close Statcrunch. It clears the memory. But I want to take my frequency table and I want to make a relative frequency table. I'm like, put them all back there on me.
Still one story here. Just close this out.
Yeah, just close it out.
So what are the commands?
Close them.
I'll just close them.
Yeah.
We still start out with the Statcrunch and the data entry.
And it shows them right there.
But we're gonna select graph, bar plot. With data. And again, we're gonna select which column. So we're gonna select day. Type. Frequency. We want to select display, value, above bar. You can play with the colors, but we need titles on the x-axis. So we're going to put day of week. We need a title on the y-axis. And I'm going to put frequency. And by the way, after this is done, if you guys want to take pictures of these. And we also have to have a title when we're doing an official one. And what was our information over? Mayor Meyer sales on online grocery deliveries. We want to make sure horizontal is checked. It's a default. And we compute.
Just for example, too.
Hmm?
You said we can take a picture of that.
Yeah, when I get all the commands up. I've had other students do that, that's fine.
I'm recording the whole lecture if someone wants me to send it to them.
I do.
So, now let's do it on the computer. The information, we've already got it imported in. There's our graph, our bar plot with data. Just going right down. Click. Which column do I want? That's what the day column is. All right? Didn't leave this, leave this. Remember I said frequency, that's the type. What if I wanted a relative frequency? Let's click it down and look. So in other words, I can make a bar graph with a relative frequency 8%. I can actually show the true percents. I can do within categories, percents within categories. So we can get really kind of snazzy with our bar charts. Right now we're leaving as frequency. And then I'm going to do the value above bar. Remember I said we could play with the color schemes? Right now we get 7 basic colors. Or I can say I want alternate colors, mixed colors,
Many shades.
shades. I mean, there's a lot of things.
There's even
This is-
colorblind.
This is where you can kind of play with it. And then I click here because a proper bar plot or bar chart has labels. So the bottom will be days of week. Y-axis is the frequency, and Marion Meyer. I really should put all of it, I'm being lazy on the typing. So look at that. Compute. That is a bar chart.
And the title was what?
Marion.
Marion Meyer.
Oh,
Y-axis was,
Frequency. See it up there?
and then compute.
What was
Yep.
X at?
Then-
Days a week.
Okay.
Choose not to put it there. It's on the board.
darn it.
Marion Meyer.
That is example 2. Example 3 talks about a Pareto chart. Now,
Okay,
the difference between a bar graph and a Pareto chart,
Oh,
you're gonna see it here in just a minute. You'll see it. I can explain it. It's another type of bar graph. But the difference is it. The Pareto
I don't see that on
That's right, you'll see here in just a second. Just hang tight, patience, bud.
here. That's a virtue I haven't learned yet.
You're gonna have to.
I'm trying.
We add one difference. The difference between a Pareto chart and a bar chart, all right? So again, same steps. Graph, bar plot with data. I select the day, type is frequency, but look at the order by. Click that down, and I want count descending. X-axis is still days of week. Y is still frequency. It's still Marion Meyer. We're still using the same stuff. One box difference between a Pareto and a bar. Compute. The one on the left is a Pareto chart. The one on the right is a bar graph.
The X is day of week and Y is frequency. X is day of week and the Y is the frequency.
It's right up there, thank you.
The easiest thing I can show you is look at the difference between them. A Pareto chart, each bar is less than the bar before it. And because of it, it's called a Pareto chart.
Oh, that's just backwards, basically.
Does it matter if the order is value or count descending?
It's count descending.
Okay.
It is count descending.
And we still want horizontal lines, right?
I did just write
Yes.
descending.
Okay.
Everything is the same
Okay.
except for the order.
Okay,
Yep.
gotcha. Well, okay, that's it here, something about the values. Oh, maybe.
How we
Why
feeling?
is it saying that to me? Watch this.
Everybody's getting it to work?
Yeah.
Alright?
Forgive me.
Let's
Oops.
close this out. I'm not gonna use this data set anymore. Alright.
Do you want them to just close them?
We need to look at another type of bar chart, and these are the side-by-side bars. And I'm gonna show what happens when, let's say, we're to use a data set that is not in the book, even though this really still is. So I want data set 2, 1, 4, What does it say? I have to download it. So I've downloaded my data set. This is what it looks like in Excel. There are times you're going to have to put your data set into Excel because we're going to need to tweak it. All right? Now, let's first do side by side. So, because I'm going to upload my data set, when I open Statcrunch this way, I go to the second option, Statcrunch website. Open Statcrunch, and looky there. Now, remember I pointed out that in Excel, the top line is what? The variable, or the title, right? Well, I click and highlighted, Control C. Control C is the copy command. When I go to paste it in, I don't start there. I want my headers in the header bar. So I click on variable 1 and Control V. It puts the headers from Excel right into the header bar.
Nice.
All right? So now I want to do the 2-bar. All right? So, to do that, it's graph, chart, columns. And graph, chart, columns. Julian said afterwards, because if you want to take a picture, by all means. Graph, chart, columns. Select the 2 columns. Now to do that, click the first one, Shift key for, click the second. Mac, I do believe it's the Control key. That selects both. All right? We want the plot to be changed to vertical bar split. Like before, we can change this. X-axis, could be gender. Y-axis, title, what are we studying? Educational attainment by gender. So I'm just doing short. All right? Pew. That is a 2-bar. What do you think?
I like it.
All right. If I wanted this to be based on relative frequency, I have to do some tweaking over here. This is where Statcrunch and Excel. I will have to sum this and then create the relative frequencies. So that means I'm gonna have to either manually do the division all the way down for each category, or I'm gonna let Excel do it through formulas. Your choice. And then I go back and give it a different, select 2 different columns. Because I'm gonna have to know what? I'm gonna have to copy those back in. So, how many in here have any use? Because you notice I'm doing this rather quick. I've been using Excel since the early 90s.
Oh, wow.
That's when I first ever learned, and then I stopped using it for several years.
I can
Here
actually
I
do
am.
more statistics quicker with Excel, and it blows people away. I'm like, there's very little that I can't do with Excel that I can't do with R and
Excel
SPSS.
makes it so easy.
There's a few tests that I have to do some tweaking and do a little bit manual. But yeah, and then how do I get that? The male equals, click, division, click, boom.
Oh, wow.
Equals, click, division, click, boom.
Now, are we gonna have to use Excel also?
A little bit, mainly Statcrunch, but when we do some tweaking like this, and then when I'm done, I will do that copy C like I did before, variable, boom, since I only did just a couple. Bring it right back in. Same commands though, there's sometimes I have to do some tweaking though with my numbers in Excel, alright?
I can help you with Excel.
I know I'm kinda out of time, but the last one I wanna show
I just did computer apps last semester.
is your pie chart.
You think you can do it first?
Pie charts are based off of relative frequency. Why? Because we have to know an internal angle. If we're doing it by hand, we take that relative frequency and multiply it by 360. That gives us the internal angle that will cause the wedge. However, to do the commands for that, think of how you did it, created the relative frequency. That relative frequency table's got to be created first. And then the commands for a pie chart. Is graph. Pie chart. With data. You're going to select, in this case, you got to select which column because we're going back to that type of frequency. We've got to give it a title and compute. My recommendation either get yourself some flashcards for all the different things you're going to be doing into Statcrunch so that you can have them quick, flip, 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 or start yourself a cheater sheet.
Sticky notes are great.
Trina said I let students go take pics. Most of the time, once you said the very first day when we really get into Statcrunch, I know last week we weren't really in depth because we weren't importing data, we weren't using a lot of data. Now's when I really want to slow down and make sure you guys know how to import that data. whether you take it from the textbook straight in, most of your homework, it has a little place to click, and it imports your data right there into Statcrunch automatic. But that's the important part. So when we get to going with the Statcrunch again, what do I tend to do? Put you in groups, a little bit of meat and potatoes. I explain what we're gonna do. Here's the reason why behind it. About 20 minutes or so. Here's your packets. See the commands. Go at it. Instead of me standing here and keep. It's like you guys gotta be comfortable with being able to do the Statcrunch on your own. Alright? How are we feeling? Starting to feel like you're finally getting into some statistics? A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.